Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited. Isis, All That Glitters. The goddess next door takes on a bikini-clad bank robber in this action-packed all-new Isis series adventure. Get Isis, All That Glitters in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today. I had a minute to do some research on the Bagel Boss beta male, and what I learned about this Bagel beta is quite troubling. Now, this Bagel beta male, his real name is Chris Morgan, and that incident in the Bagel Boss shop in Long Island wasn't the first time that your Chris Morgan has been on video embarrassing himself and posting it online. It turns out that your Bagel Beta, Chris Morgan, has been featured in several videos, and in several of these videos, he has shown how racist he is, how misogynistic he is, and how completely dysfunctional he is regarding just everyday minor incidents where he escalates things as he explodes and blows up in these rages and causes and stirs up a lot of drama wherever he goes. And as I was watching these videos of this Bagel Beta Chris Morgan, I just had to shake my head because it seems like everywhere he went to go start trouble with people. Now, in one video, he goes into a 7-Eleven to get some coffee, and a guy starts asking him about his height. And instead of him just being a man and just brushing it off, he decides to get defensive. He goes into a rage, and he starts attacking the Arab store owners, talking about their Pakistani heritage, and then goes out of his way to call the police on the 7-Eleven store owners, escalating a minor situation into major drama. And when the police get there, they tell Mr. Bagel Beta Chris Morgan there is nothing they can do for him except maybe possibly file a report because no crime has been committed. Now, if this Beta was a regular man out here and had some understanding of manhood and masculinity, he wouldn't get in his emotions all the time whenever somebody said something to him. Instead, what he would do is navigate through his emotions, learning that yes, you can feel, but you do not act. Because every time this Chris Morgan throws one of his tantrums, what he is doing is giving people power over him and showing how little power he has over himself. Because when he goes out here and he hears store owners supposedly making comments about his height, what he does when he acts out is show that he has no real power over the situation, and he gives power to those people by exploding in these rages and then escalating his behavior to the point where he loses complete control over himself. And in that incident with the store owners who are Arab, what he does is he starts going into racist rants, and that really shows how deeply dysfunctional this beta male is, because he feels inadequate about himself, so he goes out here and goes into racist histrionics with the Pakistani store owners instead of just doing one of two things. If he feels so strongly about these men making commentary about his height, he had not spent any money, so the message he could have sent was just walking out of the store and going to a competitor who would actually want his money, or just paying for his merchandise and then walking out and not making a statement. Because the way you have an impact on people is by not reacting to them and responding with character. Because a man of character, he is going to respond by either doing one of two things: paying for his merchandise and leaving, or just leaving the merchandise there and then walking out. And then after he walks out, maybe he will go out here and contact the corporate office and let them deal with these employees. Because I remember one time when I was shopping at Food Bazaar on 161st Street, and I was in the aisle and some guy called me Fat Albert. I didn't argue with the men in the store who were packing the shelves. No, I went to their managers, I sent them an email, and after reviewing the tape of these guys acting nasty and unprofessional, they sent me a gift certificate and they apologized. That's how you deal with individuals who are disrespectful to you in business. You don't get in their face like this beta male. You problem solve and contact their managers and their corporate office and let them know that there's an employee who's a problem, there is an issue with their behavior, and you let their managers deal with this individual. Unfortunately, this beta male, because he's so emotional and feels so insecure, every time somebody talks to him, he gets defensive and he looks to attack people instead of looking to solve problems and solve problems in a constructive manner. Now, another video that this beta male bagel boy made was outside of a library where he was getting into it with another woman. And we can clearly see his misogyny in this video. And this video that he had done with when he was outside the library, he was getting into it again with another woman. And it showed how little self-control this man had as he was getting into it with this woman, because the argument he was having was over something minuscule. And again, it showed how little self-control this man had over himself. Now, another video that this beta male participated in showed his racism yet again, because he was inside of a business of some sort and he wanted to use the bathroom, and he starts arguing with this Dominican woman, and as he's arguing with the Dominican woman, she goes after his phone and they get physical. Again, showing how little discipline this man has. And as he's fighting with this woman over the phone, he makes several racial statements about her being Hispanic, and again, showing how racist this beta male is. And this woman is with her children, and this beta male is sitting there arguing with her, showing how completely weak he is, because no man sits there and argues with a complete stranger over a public use of a public restroom. If he has to go, he just waits his turn and he maintains self-control. But this man, because he has no control over his emotions, he turns it into another melodramatic tirade, and he goes off into his emotions, attacking this woman as he's recording her, and showing again he has no little restraint. And in another video I watched, this beta male bagel boy was on a date with a woman, and when he couldn't get sex from the woman, he decided to get in his car and then drive off and leave the woman stranded in a parking lot. If that is not an example of misogyny, I do not know. Because when it comes down to the beta male, when he cannot get what he wants, he then wants to hurt people because he feels hurt himself. Now, on not getting sex from the woman, he felt a personal rejection, so he wanted to humiliate the woman. So what he did was get in his car, drive off and leave her in a parking lot, and then decided to go back and then circle and taunt her again as he was driving off in the parking lot. If that's not beta male behavior, I don't know what is. Because any man of character, he's not going to go out here and take a woman out on a date and, one, expect sex from that date, and then two, he's not going to go out here and, if he's out here with a woman and he's brought her someplace, abandon her in a parking lot all because he couldn't get sex. That is the textbook behavior of a beta male simp, because when beta male simps can't get their way with women that they want to have sex with, that's when they start looking to hurt the very women they get themselves involved in. And this beta male, he clearly showed how much of a misogynist he was in that situation. And the whole way he behaved with this woman proved my point about this guy being very deeply damaged from the video where he was in the Bagel Boss shop, because we clearly see a pattern of misogyny with this man and a clear deep-seated hatred of women with this man, because this man's behavior is the core reason why he can't get any attention from the women that he wants. His nasty attitude would turn off any woman, because when I look at his attitude and his behavior, this is why most women probably want nothing to do with him, and this is the core reason why this man was on online dating and being told that he should be dead at 5 feet tall, because he comes off as very abrasive, very rude, very nasty. And when you're a very rude, abrasive, and nasty person, then people don't want to engage you or get involved with you. And when you're at one of these beta males with a chip on his shoulder looking to start trouble with others, then what happens is every situation you get involved in is a nightmare to deal with. And I looked at a further video that this guy was involved with, and one of them, he was so nasty, he was actually getting in the face of someone who was alleged to be in organized crime. So this man is a very deeply troubled man, and it's his own attitude and perspective on life that is the thing that does him in every time. Because this Chris Morgan, he right now is living out of his van, because like the nice guy he truly is, and I mean quote unquote nice guy, in that he is an insecure, needy, melodramatic, ultra emotional male who does not know how to communicate with others, does not know how to work with others, and looks to create covert contracts with people. This beta male is living inside of his van because he has been the quote-unquote nice guy, getting into covert contracts with predatory people, and then those people take advantage of him, and then he gets angry and wants to lash out at people who absolutely had nothing to do with him. If anything, this beta male, Chris Morgan, he needs to go read Dr. Robert Glover's No More Mr. Nice Guy, and he needs to read my book, The Man Crisis, because when I take a critical examination of this man's pattern and practice of behavior, it fits right within what your Dr. Robert Glover talked about in No More Mr. Nice Guy. Because when I looked at him in that Bagel Boss shop, and I saw him starting to go into the histrionics, talking about this, all the women who rejected him after this woman questioned his misogyny, what he went into is what Dr. Glover talked about as a victim puke, where what he wanted to do was go into this victim puke because he wanted to make himself out to be the victim instead of taking a responsibility for the argument he presented in the discussion. So he's out here arguing with this woman, and then when she makes a statement to him, he goes into the victim puke and then tries to make her the bad guy, and he tries to make himself out to be the victim. And I saw that pattern play in that 7-Eleven. I saw it play outside the public library. I saw that pattern play in when he was on the date with the woman and drove off. Every time something bad happened to him or things didn't go his way, he did a victim puke, went into an emotional rant, and threw a temper tantrum because things weren't going his way. Classic beta male, nice guy behavior, and all of it is, he blames it on his height. But when I take a further critical examination of this man, I don't see it as really being the roots of it being his height. I see it having to do with the dysfunctional way he was raised. And when it comes down to beta males, they don't want, when it comes down to them, because they were raised in these households with female authority figures, these men don't know how to take responsibility. They don't know how to take accountability, and it's somebody else's fault. Because in all of the incidents that he was involved in, he always looked to make somebody a scapegoat. And oftentimes, when it came down to this guy, he got involved with the lowest forms of life in Long Island. I mean, here he was. He talked about how he had a cleaning business and one of his partners ripped him off. And again, never taking any responsibility for the people he got involved with. I mean, he was involved with an alleged member of organized crime. He was talking to this guy about business. And again, showing you the lowest forms of life that he gets involved in. He gets involved in a deal with his landlady, which was a covert contract. He's buying furniture for her in one video to put in the home. And then he finds out the home is sold out from under him. Again, getting involved with the lowest forms of life in people, and never ever thinking that he can change his course of life. And that has nothing to do with his height. The whole argument regarding height has nothing to do with this man's whole dysfunctional pattern as related to his life. The person making his life dysfunctional is staring him in the mirror every day. It is Chris Morgan who makes his life a problem, because he doesn't see how he sells himself short every day due to his low self-esteem, his lack of self-confidence, and his inability to take ownership of his life. Because at the end of the day, every man has to take responsibility for his life. He has to take ownership of his life, and he can't keep sitting here playing the victim, because when you play the victim, all you do is leave yourself wide open for predators to take advantage of you. And once the predators take advantage of you, then at the end of the day, the reason why they used you is because you put yourself out there to be used. And what this man does is put himself out there to be used, and he puts himself out there to be used because he is in this codependent vicious cycle where he's looking to get sympathy from others. And as he's looking to get sympathy from others, what they're doing is looking for ways to exploit this man, and that's what's got him so angry. And what he can't see is that the paradigm he's following is a failure, and the reason why it's failing is because when you get stuck in a victim mode, you cannot step up to be a survivor, because all you keep seeing is looking for people to help you overcome being a victim. He doesn't want to move forward because he's getting his needs met by being a victim. As long as he says he's this height challenged guy, he believes he can get attention for himself. But if he really wanted to get attention for himself, he would make those investments in self that would help him take himself to the next level. Now, I know many of my viewers sympathize with this guy, but as related to him being short and not getting attention to women. But when I look at this man, I see nobody to sympathize for. I see a man who at the end of the day is responsible for his own situation and responsible for his own state of life. And this man sits here, Chris Morgan, he is in the bad situation he is because of who he is and how he treats people. And what he doesn't understand is you do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And even if people aren't being as kind to you as you want them to be, you always turn the other cheek. Because at the end of the day, you have to answer to God. And if you have to answer to God, you want to be able to go out here and say, I did right by people, even though they didn't do right by me. And that's something that this Chris Morgan never understands. Now, I myself have grown up really hard. I had a brain aneurysm at the age of 7. Kids called me retarded for many years, and I never used it as a position of a victim because I always saw that the position of a victim was never a position of power. And instead of me trying to play the victim, I always looked for ways to move myself forward, and I always looked to improve myself overall. I mean, I'm only 5'7" tall, which is considered short by many people, but instead of me sitting there complaining about being short, I decided to have a tall presence, and I decided to go out here and radiate strong confidence, strong masculine energy, putting myself first, and focusing on building and improving myself. So that's what a man does when he's out here. Instead of him worrying about his shortcomings and worrying about what other people are saying about him, he decides to listen to the voice of God and go out here and be the best man he can be. Because I myself, again, was called retarded for many years. Many people said I was slow. Many people thought I couldn't do certain jobs. But instead of me listening to those people, I believed in myself, I believed in God, and I persevered, and I managed to continue to work even though those people didn't believe in me. I refused to listen to their voices, and I decided to believe in myself and see myself as I imagined myself, and I worked towards making myself into the man I imagined myself as. Now, when I see myself, I always see myself standing tall, standing strong, and standing confident, and that's what a man has to do in order to go out here and have any sort of success with anything, whether it be getting involved with women, writing books, or looking for work, or building businesses. Any man out here has to go out here and focus on himself and creating a strong image of self, because if you see yourself as strong, other people will see you as strong. And the reason why nobody sees this Chris Morgan as anything is because Chris Morgan doesn't see himself as anything. It's not that he's 5 feet tall. The problem is he sees himself as 2 inches tall, and it's those feelings of insecurity and inadequacy that make him this very bitter and angry man who makes everybody miserable around him. And instead of him going out here to live the best life out here, he lives his life to make others miserable by trolling people all throughout Long Island and making people not want to have anything to do with him. Because whenever you see a guy like this Chris Morgan, there's a reason why he's living down by the river in a van, and that's because he's a toxic man who has no real energy, no real course, and no real direction as a man. And that's why he can never have success, because he doesn't see himself as a success, and all he knows how to do is be a victim, because he doesn't see a way for himself to be a victor. If you want to learn more about dysfunctional men like this Chris Morgan in the Bagel Boss shop, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback, Kindle, and Smashwords in the iBookstore. And if you want to learn more about how nice guys destroy themselves, I urge you to pick up a copy of Dr. Robert Glover's No More Mr. Nice Guy on Amazon.com. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and coming to Kindle Unlimited. John Haynes, Dark Succubus. The man who rules the world is tempted by a sultry succubus in this all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get John Haynes, Dark Succubus in paperback or pre-order on Kindle Unlimited today.